Hello, and welcome to another Tribal Council for Survivor Hamilton Old Meets New. We are here with the top 8 from our Tendua tribe. We're getting down to the wire here, and I'm sure all of our players are feeling it. As you can see from the image, we have one player with an immunity necklace, and that is Graham, who just went through the gauntlet and won the Tournament of Champions this year, which is great, replacing Steph from our last season, who was the surprise winner. Graham probably is a surprise winner as well. So maybe Graham, I'll ask you first. What was Monday like, and kind of how did you enjoy the tournament format?
That was a lot of fun. On Monday, honestly, I wasn't really in the zone for Survivor Hamilton, but something about the challenge, the way it was put together, the gauntlet or something, I don't know what it was, but once it started, I actually started really enjoying myself. And I feel like with like any sport, once you start having fun, you actually start doing a little bit better. You get into the zone, and I think that's kind of what happened. And I mean, I did get lucky a little bit too. But yeah, it was good, and I'm glad that I won. It's exciting.
Did you feel like taking your time on the answers really paid off? Making sure you got it right the first time around?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, usually I'm rushing like a lot of people, and you know, when you rush, you screw up. And so this time on Monday, maybe it was just because I wasn't really, feeling it that day. I just decided to take my time, and I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. And I didn't screw up.
Awesome. Yeah, that's right. Okay, cool, man. So going back to the last tribal council, Brian, if you're there, I'd love to kind of get your thoughts on why you feel Paul was voted out, and really kind of what singled him out as, from your view, as the person who had to go.
I think with Paul, it's difficult playing the middle when you're trying to. I mean, coming from experience, I played the middle and played both sides, but I was very open when I did it. I said, like, I went to both sides. I said, here's the way that the core group of everyone can sort of get along, and then we can go from there. And you sort of like make a plan to cut the perceived dead weight or whatever. Paul was trying to play both sides in secret, and you can do that and you can do it successfully, but after you lie to both sides, everyone sort of is a little bit upset with you. And Paul, and not that everyone was like super upset with Paul, but he didn't have like that close relationship where he was with them, like he had lied to them, but they were still willing to work with them. But then on the other hand, they weren't willing to bend over backwards to save him either. So it's almost like Paul was just, with the way the immunity was, with 3 immunities, Paul was the path of least resistance.
Right. Awesome. Thanks, Brian. Kyle, Brian just mentioned that Paul was voted out really because he was playing the middle, and it sounds like he wasn't doing like a very secretive job of it. Do you think that there's other players still in the game who are trying to do that as well, play both sides?
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's a smaller group now, right? So I think when you look at a group of 8 and 2 clear threes, and then you keep writing on your write-ups that I'm just on my own, right? So I guess it's easy to assume that there's people in the middle, definitely. Oh,
right. Thanks, man. Jane, Kyle just mentioned 2 groups of 3 out of the 8. And then that would leave obviously 2 people in the middle. Do you view your 3 as kind of still sticking together and kind of going against the other 5, or is it more complicated than that?
Well, if 3 of us just like stick to our guns and go against the 5, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a number game and we obviously lose. So yeah, like we have been trying to work with others. I guess it's kind of hard when others see us as the biggest biggest threat still, which I don't think we are. Yeah, it's kind of hard when you're viewed as a threat, and people are more hesitant to join you and work with you. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we're the definite three. I don't think the other three is as definite as us. But yeah, I guess we've been trying to work with others. Trust me, like we've been trying to work, trying to survive, make it to final six. So
Thanks, James. John, James mentioned something interesting around, the three of you being so tight. Is it hard to convince somebody to join you as a fourth or even a fifth, knowing that they might still be in the minority against the three of you?
Of course, I think the numbers are so small, and I think everybody's got these intertwined relationships. So I think everybody's posturing on how to get to the finals too, right? So I think does this make me good for the finals? Could I beat this person one-on-one? I think everybody's trying to figure it out and try to take at least vote by vote. But like it's obviously hard, right? Like just because there's three, and that's where we've sort of voted so far the rest of the way. So
are you open to other people's suggestions and that might not involve Chris and James?
I'm willing to listen, right? I've talked to some of the guys in the game about it, but the offer is never really, like, I don't always see how it benefits me personally. So I think that's where it always gets me, where it's like, am I just a pawn in their game, right? And I think that's where I'm all like, just where my head's at, because it's like, okay, if I go against one of the guys, like, it doesn't really get me anywhere, because then everybody's sort of trying to play long term, right? Or trying to, at the end of the day, make sure they're safe that week so that they can get to their plan the next week and stuff, right? So,
right. Thanks, John. April, James mentioned something interesting about him believing that the three of them are potentially closer or a tighter alliance than the three of you, assuming Graham, April, and Jordan, even though you guys are family. Is there any truth to that, or how would you, evaluate that statement?
I don't know. It's I mean, from my perspective, I would think they seem like they're tighter because they've voted together pretty much since the merge, right? And it's been, I think, a little bit different than that for the family, but I don't know what goes on behind the scenes with their trio. So it's really hard for me to guess, I suppose, on that one. But
fair enough. As somebody who is obviously has Graham and Jordan as part of the family, and just, you're close with them, but has also been working, with Brian since your time on Ulu, and partly with Kyle since the merge, or since Graham was voted out initially. Is it tough to kind of listen to both of those pairs, Graham and Jordan, and Kyle and Brian, and decide what's best for your game?
Yeah, I think that the tough one of the tough things is I don't want Jim to get mad at me.
Who cares what Jim thinks?
Yeah, no, it is a bit tough, and I think when you get to this point in the game too, you kind of got to look around and go, okay, who's more likely to screw me over?
Right. Thanks, April. Jordan, is it hard, or how hard is it to put aside the family aspects when you really it's a game and you really just want to win? You came third last time. You don't want to do worse. You want to get to the finals this time. Like, how hard is it to juggle personal relationships and just the desire to win the game?
Yeah, it's hard. You obviously want to balance your competitive side with, your personal side. If you do have a personal, relationship, like a family member, or, a best friend or brother or something like that, or cousin. But, I think April said it best. It's kind of like you look around and you're like, where do you fit in these alliances? Like, April and Graham are married. Brian and April have a strong relationship. It makes me feel a little bit like I'm on the outside, especially because, maybe Brian and Kyle are working a little bit more closer together. But it's really tough at this time to try and balance that edge, right? So every week is always, or every tribal is always a new, outlook on how you see the game and how you see relationships, and I think it's only going to get tougher, from here on out. So it's definitely a challenge for sure.
Thanks, Jordan. Chris, you there?
Yo.
In my last post, I wrote a little bit about the difference between playing a defensive game and really just anybody but me versus more of an offensive, aggressive game in terms of actively removing threats or removing pieces that stand in the way of you winning. How do you see that? I feel like you've been someone who's been maybe more aggressive in the game so far. Do you agree with one of those styles over the other? And how have you been trying to play the game over the past week?
No, I think there is a different time to play with each style. You can see like Paul maybe as an example, like he didn't really have to do much. He put both sides, and that's more of a defensive style. He wasn't out there floating people's names around, etc. So I think there's a time and a place for each one. And I guess for mine, the last week, I didn't start work till Monday, and I was a sales guy with nothing to sell, so I was trying to sell everything I could. And make it a little bit of fun, man. And I don't know, there's always a potential buyer out there.
So you hope that someone was listening today?
Yeah, I got a lot of cold shoulders, but I just I'm a huge fan of the show, and I don't know if anyone watches that, they'd probably have a better idea to play than what I've been seeing lately in this game. So I think there's one or two people out there who are up for grabs and might pick that offer up. I literally gave it to everyone. So
do you think there's an advantage in watching the show for players like yourself who have seen lots of different scenarios play out and got in the minds of some of the real players of the game?
Yeah, I think the only difference is I've said this multiple times to people is you're not getting $1 million at the end of this. So when that's at stake, it really changes things. But yeah, I guess a lot of people in this game have played with each other before or have a relationship, so it makes it hard to vote for each other. They don't want to do it when it might make strategic sense for them to do that in the game. But I think that people who might have tuned in and seen those episodes that like me and you talk about where we reference certain votes might see a few tactics there.
Right. Thanks, Chris. Kyle, talking about kind of what I was just mentioning about playing aggressive or playing defensive, a lot of that, what that kind of removes, that's just describing two styles and kind of removes the personal aspect. And I feel like you kind of came in the game ready to go from a strategy standpoint. Were you surprised at how quickly you've been able to build actual bonds with people over the game and how that's impacted your own decisions?
Yeah, I think in a regular world it probably wouldn't be the same, but because there's no personal interaction really outside of, or hasn't been much personal interaction outside of this game, and a lot of text messages and WhatsApp messages for 3 months. So you start to get to know people a little bit more. For me personally, I had nothing else to do other than text with people. So
right.
I definitely ended up building friendships or relationships with people that I might not have otherwise, and that definitely impacts. It's impacted me, I think, a lot more in the later stages of the game with votes than it would have at the beginning. I think it's just kind of progressed that way. But I mean, too, at the same time, within the context of those friendships and those relationships or those bonds that you build, everyone. I mean, I know there's a show, and I know there's lots of different strategies and things that happen in the show, but it's hard to speak to each person's individual strategy, right? So, what might work for one person or what their goals are in the short term might be different from another person, right? So, right. It's difficult in that way.
Thanks, Kyle. Graham, to Kyle's point, is it really difficult in this game to truly trust anybody, your family included, when it comes to decisions in the game, knowing that it is just a game?
It really depends on the person. like throughout this game, I've probably had a few people that I've been able to trust completely. And, you know, that list of people has changed. What? The list of people change now and again. But yeah, I don't think it's that tough. It's just you gotta pick your people, and then once you pick them, then I guess really depending on the people, you can trust them or you can't. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's subjective.
And have you been experiencing people actively trying to get you to vote against your wife? And April, same question about Graham. And how weird is that? Or has that been happening at all? Or is everyone just been assuming that you guys will work together till the end?
I had one person jokingly say it. At least I feel like it was jokingly a couple of weeks ago, maybe. But other than that, I think it's something that, for me at least, has been avoided. I'm sure people think I'm not going to vote for my wife, and they might be right. They might not be right. I guess we'll see how the game plays out if we both last long enough to make those types of decisions.
April, same thing. Have people been trying to kind of talk to you about the potential to go with somebody else other than Graham till the end?
I don't think I've had any conversations like that, but I don't think his name's come up to me as a vote either. Or at least nothing that, again, wasn't like just a casual joke. I assume if it's going to come down to that, people will probably just avoid me.
And why? What did you mean about trying not to piss Jim off?
Because he wants the family to stick together.
Of course he does. That worked so well for him the first time. James, how worried are you that one of yourself, John, or Chris is going to be targeted or go home or go to the jury after this vote?
Well, that's been a worry of mine and all three of ours as as soon as the merge happened. Like, we knew that we had a big target on our backs, and yeah, we knew that every tribal that the bastards will be targeted. So that's how we approached the game. And I mean, so far, like, there's still three of us left here, and yeah, like every tribal, I approach it as one of us is going home. And yeah, there's been moves that's been made by a couple people, and we've survived this long, and hopefully we can survive again tonight. So
right on. Thanks, man. Brian, we've talked a little bit about how two alliances of three and you and Kyle in the middle. Is that the way that you view it, or do you see that you have more options than just picking a group of three to work with?
I think there's more options. I mean, like you said before, I have worked with April, with Ulu and Graham after that, and I've been talking to Chris before and stuff. But I mean, it's definitely been more leaning towards one side than the other. Not that I haven't tried to reach out to both sides, but yeah, I mean, always options. I'm not trying to be in the middle and just play the middle and play both sides. I'm trying to just work with whoever will work with me, I guess.
Thanks, man. And Kyle, to that point, if let's say you and Brian are picking one group of three to work with, does that put you in a minority where you need to then convince someone from the family to go against themselves, or convince one of the bastards to go against themselves? I know we don't have too many options, but is that something that you're kind of dealing with?
Yeah, I mean, it's not something, like, I don't really plan, like I've said this a bunch of times, I don't plan past like the next vote really. So it's just get through the vote. And I think I've had like a sneaking suspicion something might go down tonight where like I might be done. And if that's the case, well played. But you know, like I don't worry too much about that. It's I guess in the back of my head a little bit, like worrying about, like, you know, you talk to people, you make these promises and stuff, and eventually you need to consider how you deal with that, right? So
Right. Thanks, man. So Chris, what are you trying to get other players to do? Just play the game, just kind of enjoy the game for what it is and make big moves, or is it more complicated than that?
Yeah, no offense to you. I loved your game. It's been fun. But I guess, like, recently, you know, I've never played this long. It is a long stretch when there's 30 people, right? There was 24 last time. And it gets a bit, and I think Graham and Jordan remember from last time we played, I get a bit restless. I get a bit crazy, right? I start coming up with all these ideas. So, yeah, I think I miss Silas almost, man. Like, the chaos. It's so fun, and I like it more. I think the end of the game, I'd love to be like 8 people where kind of alliances change every week, and you never know who's going home. It's kind of like when you watch the show, right? It's so fun, as opposed to you know, just you kind of know who's going every week. So I was just trying to stir it up, man. Stir the pot, maybe make people think I had an advantage that I didn't have. Like, I was just throwing everything out there.
Do you think, you know, that people should be thinking more about their individual game and what's going to get them to the end, or do you think this kind of you know, week to week approach is fine?
Yeah, I think if you want to win, you got to think less about you know, your friends, and more about, like, what deal can I make that I can actually win. Like, if there's not something on my resume right now that I can give to a jury in a speech at the end of this game, like, then what can I do to make that happen? Because it's all fun playing with friends or family or whatever until you get to the final 4, and then you got to eat each other. So yeah, play individual, and for anyone out there, I'll sell out John or James anytime. Okay, come talk to me.
I was going to ask you about that, but I'll ask John about that. You know, because Chris is saying, you know, just basically what he's saying is just getting in a majority and sticking together isn't much of a game move, but that's arguably what you and Chris and James and Peter previously had been doing. Do you also feel the need to kind of break away and at some point make a big move to be able to sell a jury?
I think it just depends who you face in the finals, right? I think if you were to line everybody up and then say, at this very moment, could I beat person X? You can sort of tell, and you could go through the jury and sort of put the math together, right? So it's all narrative on who you play against, right? So it just depends, like, who, like, it really depends on your story, on who's in the finals, right? So if you play somebody who's made big moves, you probably won't win. But if you play somebody who sort of flied under the radar, who sort of just got there the same as you, or if that's the way they've played, I think it's all the narrative and how you sell your story, right? Like Chris said, he's a salesman, right? So it just depends how you sell the story at the end. And it's not like in the show where there's 3 people, so you got to beat 2 people. This one, you only have to beat 1 person. So whoever, like, if you get pulled, if you're the one who wins that final immunity and you decide who you want to pull, you sort of have a choice, right? It's not, you don't got to try to beat 2 others. You only got to beat 1. So it's really, I think it's really just based on the narrative on the way there. And then the problem is, if you build a big resume now, people are going to try to get you before you get to the finals because they know I can't beat you when you get there.
Thanks, man. Kyle, is that something that you've considered as well? I know you think one at a time, but looking at the other 7 players, kind of who you can beat in the end, and does that inform your decisions at all?
No, you know, honestly, I think that for me to get to the end, I think that there's no one that I probably beat head to head. I think, by, like, when you look at who ends up on the jury based on decisions that I would have to make from now till the final 2, right, there's probably no way that I beat anyone. So, you know, like, it's
why do you think that is?
Well, I think because, you know, you build the bonds, you make the relationships, you make some promises and stuff, and you have to break those at some point. So, like, I just feel like if I go the whole way, like there's a chance that like I have to break multiple promises, right? So you kind of look forward, and then it's just like, okay, well, probably not going to pull it off, but just have fun while I'm here. So, yeah.
Right. Thanks, man. Jordan, two quick questions. Do you think you're able to get to the end of the game without breaking promises? And B, do you agree with John's and Chris's statement in terms of making these big moves to sell a jury at the end?
I think there's a very tough position that you put yourself in when you make promises throughout the game. There's ways that you can continue to build relationships without making crazy promises. I'll take you to top 4 or top 6, whatever. That being said, it's really hard to build relationships without providing some sort of, this is what I can do for you if you do this for me type of thing. So it's a really, really fine line. So probably no, you wouldn't be able to get to the finals without breaking some promises. I think everybody can say that, whether that's one promise or 25, that's going to be pretty damn near impossible. On the other side, you just got to play a game that you feel good playing. And if that means that you've got to, come to the end of the game and say to the jury, was this a big move? Should I have made this instead of making the easy move? And, everybody's going to have an opinion. That's why they're the jury. And you're sitting there and they're going to tell you what the answer is. So, I'm not thinking too much about how I'm going to feel or what my story is going to be if I do make it to the end. I'm just trying to make a game that, I feel good playing, that I feel good about, making my own game and protecting the people that I want to protect, and making sure that it's not, a greasy game. Thanks, man. I really like what you said about just playing a game you can be comfortable with or you can be happy with. And Peter told me something offline. He said, just the phrase, what's winning Survivor Hamilton worth to you? And the answer is going to be different to everybody, but some people are going to be okay with knowing it's a game and they'll backstab anybody. Some people won't be comfortable with that at all. And some people will be walking that line, but everybody's got to answer that question and try to finish the game, whether they win or not, with hopefully a positive answer for them. And so I really appreciate that. And unless anybody has anything they want to add for the tribe, I think we can get to the vote. No? Okay. So before I read the votes, does anybody want to put up their hand and say that they are playing a immunity idol today? Yeah, I'm going to play an idol for James tonight. All right.
Thanks, Jordan.
Well played, Jordan. Well played.
Thanks, Jordan.
So what we have here, and I'll show this briefly before we get to the vote, is Jordan using a hidden immunity idol that he did win after the merge, so a couple weeks ago, let's say, or a week ago. So again, he is playing that immunity idol for James. So any votes cast for James will not count. Any other votes will. I will read the votes. All right. First vote, James, does not count. Second vote, James, does not count. Third vote, James, does not count. Fourth vote, James, does not count. Fifth vote, Kyle. Sixth vote, Kyle. That's 2 votes for Kyle. Seventh vote, and the next member of our jury, is
Good job.
Kyle.
Good job, George. Well played.
Here's your double fist, Kyle. Here's your double fist.
Great game, buddy. Great game, buddy.
There you go. Good job, George. Well played.
Awesome job, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your night. Kyle, stick around. You're the only, you're a winner, and you're still a winner in our eyes from Survivor Hamilton too.
All right, guys. See you later.
Appreciate it.